Okay, Hiroki, tune your violin. Show me the first fifth that we play on the violin. Okay, so now how about the next fifth to this one is A and E flat with the first finger. So tune this for me. Okay, so we know now that that's good. So this position with the wrist is good, and because now it's enabling you to actually put the pad of the finger on the fiddle correctly, adjust it in a natural way, because the wrist is falling at this angle correctly. If I threw something to you, I'm going to throw it like that. If I want to throw it to somebody behind me, which is in a high position, I'm going to do it this way. So the hand is falling that way. In how I'm visualizing this whole system of being aware of the instrument being tuned in fifth and developing the intonation around this logic, I think that the natural harmonics, well, I know that the natural harmonics all lie in exactly the correct parallel position on each string. So it's sometimes very helpful just to check other harmonics like that, which is always a fifth. It's never a third, it's never a sixth, it's never an octave. So okay, so we're kind of both a bit like in tune. So is that all that we have in fifths, just these open strings and the natural harmonics?
No.
It's not. So we have actually, in reality, because everything is parallel, and we're not a guitar, we don't play in frets. I worked in these last years trying to work out why the natural position produces the good fifth throughout the instrument. And so perhaps we can just discuss this a little bit. So let's go, after we tune, let's go to an A flat. Just the A flat. Good. And so now the pad is positioned in such a way that the vibrato is locked into this fifth. And so this is the vibrato that we want to develop. Also, if you play in a syncopated rhythm, so that we play each note twice. We can make a continuity of vibrato through each note, so that these fifths will remain consistent throughout the entire length of the instrument, giving us a natural position in the arm and hand. Because the only contact with the violin, actually, in reality, is this left hand. This hand is in contact with the bow. We've got to take care of these pads, position it in such a way that the violin is easier, not more difficult. And in my life, I've seen that the fifths become a problem because everybody's changing the hand to the fifth, and I think it's in reverse. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's in reverse. The fifths are the dominant designer of the pad. Play to me once this, as if you're tuning the violin from a half step up. Make it so that you can hear the fifth just as beautifully as you hear the open strings. The reason that this one is out of tune is because the wrist isn't quite soft enough. So we know that the arm is moving actually this way, inward, for the E string and outwards for the G string.
Yeah.
This is for quite a long time until we get into perhaps 4th, 5th, 6th position.
Yeah.
This is really the logic of the movement and activity of the arm. We don't need more than that. So position the E string, hand position, okay. Okay, and now playing those fifths across four strings as if you were tuning open string. The reason this is out of tune because I haven't positioned, I've stayed on the G string side. So now my elbow coming this way. Feeling all the time that you're practicing that the hand is active, the bow is making a beautiful sound, is opening the voice of the string of the string which is in this area here and not under the stick there. That's only the place that we open the voice which is there. And so when you play this one and you start here, it's like opening the Tchaikovsky concerto. So you have to have this feeling of expression when you're practicing. This out of tune, the first fifth, bravo. Okay, so now play the next one across 4 strings, which is B flat. So now play the next 2 or 3 chromatic notes by yourself. Next one, because it's too far, because the 4th finger, unless we come very, very much round the instrument, the 4th finger is not too weak, it's a little bit too short to stretch this one. So to find exactly where the 4th finger goes for this fifth, play without moving the wrist outward in this way to try and achieve a stretch from this angle, which is wrong. We must stay relaxed. Play me a natural harmonic on the G string, D and A. And now relax the wrist a little bit more. Now you can play this fifth now with your 4th finger. And you can vibrate. That's right. If you come the other way this way, you can't do it. You simply can't do it. So you could, if you had a passage that was the position to vibrate with sonority on that note. So we don't have to shift and we don't have to do all of these tricks. Huh? We don't have to do this. Because we know that because the finger is now aligned because of the softness of the wrist. The other thing, I want to just reinstate with you is actually that you are holding the violin for this contact with the hand. You're holding it actually with the left hand. This wrist, for me, is too straight. Not so much relaxed. Not as relaxed as this. This is good. Now I hear a purity in the intonation that you won't have if you're straight. Let me come straight. Now play it. Well, of course it's the same because they're natural harmonics, but in actual fact it's more difficult.
Yeah.
It's more difficult because you pull the little finger away from where it should be, which is there, in a straight line going up there. Good. All right. Always feel as if there is no difficulty in placing this natural frame of the hand. But the natural frame of the hand is an octave. So if we're walking down the street and we're not doing anything, we're not thinking about hands or anything, we're just walking, but this hand is in a position, which when we put it here, in actual fact, sound, for whatever reason, it's in an octave position.
Yeah.
Huh? So this fourth finger must find its place, because we have many difficult things to play. We have the opening of the Beethoven concerto to play.
Yeah.
We have the fourth variation of third variation of Paganini 24th Caprice, the very, very famous octave passages. So we must leave this frame intact and relaxed. That would be, okay, lift the fourth finger. Can you feel the fifth underneath the first finger? Okay, let me hit that fifth. Relax. And so place the octave. That's correct. So play just fifth octave. So this will present an ease in the way that we deal with this. I think that we should practice a lot in first position, so I wrote quite a few exercises like when we're practicing these things, that we use the full bow from the heel to the tip without being noisy. Because we want the fifth to sound beautiful, it's important that our bow is always at the right angle in relationship to the bridge of the violin. So place your bow on the heel. Now instead of like many people do, and perhaps they're okay with it, I'm personally not okay with it, but they come in a little bit this way, they travel too far with the upper arm here, so now they have to go out to get straight. I don't like this, because if we were playing fast like that, we simply don't have time to do that. Or if we were playing... So the best way to practice your bowing is to practice all of the legatissimo throughout the bow, and while you have developing as a very soft wrist in this hand as well. So you apply to the fifths, and then we start to play as we're going to develop our sound over however long. It can be 2 weeks, can be 2 years, can be a lifetime. But we have to make it easier rather than difficult. There are many patterns that we follow in, for example, this is for bowing and fifth. and so gradually, I mean, this is a beautiful position, but when I first put your wrist in, I felt a slight tension there when I knocked it in at fraction.
Yeah.
Play it one more time. Okay, so fine. Now I feel no tension in there at all. So now you're able to do all the exercises before we start shifting from the book. Yeah?
Yes.
The violin in fifths.
Yeah.
All right? Good. I studied a lot of Dunis. And you know, Dunis was arguably the greatest probably the greatest, I don't know, like guitar, mandolin, lute player that ever lived. I mean, I heard recordings of his which are crazy, playing Paganini on the mandolin. So, but this position is great. So if we took the violin from there and we put it here, we will see that we're perfectly aligned.
Yeah.
And that's actually why Dunis wrote, for example, the Daily Dozen, when he's in this position with the stretching fingers, which is half the time you play the violin, and this position, A, which is the natural fall here, not natural, because all thirds are in position B with Dunis, all fourths are in position B. So, but we have to find now, from our book, when we play the fifth, we have to find something that actually is slightly less drastic than this, and presents the hand into a slightly easier position to deal with all the other intervals that we've got.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me hear you play now. This fourth finger is very minutely out of tune. But it is minutely out of tune, so I might practice that particular shift for 5 minutes until my hand feels so easy that nobody will ever detect this kind of thing. Because imagine if we were playing separately on the G string and separately on the D string, it's very hard to place it perfectly.
Yeah.
In a perfect fifth, it's so hard. So we must know within this minute thing where this fifth lies. You're now having to, because you were not actually, the arm was not in position when you started, you're having to reach for the fourth finger, and that fourth finger is kind of miles shorter than the other finger, is kind of small.
Yeah.
It can't reach all that way across, so we have to actually do it with the arm. But we can't just do it on the note, because we might be practicing that note, playing that note in performance, I don't know, 132 to crotches in a 16th note.
Yeah.
So, position the arm for the dominant. This is correct.
There's also less tense now.
Yeah, good. I want to know if you have questions or question marks about anything, so that perhaps we can discuss it a little bit, or I can give you the answer straight away.
So I find it difficult that before I get used to practicing in fifths, it gets really tense, especially in the fourth finger. And you know, after 5-10 minutes of doing practice in fifths, it gets natural, and all the tension is released. But then when I first practice, it gets really tense.
Well, in anything that we practice, it always takes a minute or 2 minutes or 10 minutes. Some people need half an hour before a concert to warm up. I have one student who he must practice his fifth for half an hour before he can play. You probably know very well who that is. But that's his way. He won't feel warm until he's practiced for half an hour. But if something feels difficult or uncomfortable or tense, we have more than anything got to know the reason why it feels that, not just to keep practicing until it's right. Because if we do that and come back tomorrow, it's like banging our head against a brick wall. We're going to have the same problem tomorrow as we had. We're going to start all over again. We need to fix the problem. So in actual fact, the problem has got to be in the arm position, in the wrist position, or in the pad placement. So, for example, if you play the fourth finger and there is stress in the wrist, you're going to create, in order to get this fourth finger vibrating somehow, you're going to put the wrist out a little bit and create tension to do it. And that is wrong. Creating tension is wrong. Of course we use these muscles and tense these muscles for everything. That's something else, because we're looking for so many colors all the time. But this is the basic thing where your vibrato will feel not stressed on whichever finger you play. So for example, play to me, let's say you had a concerto that started with your first finger. And the G string. Well, of course, the Tchaikovsky starts with the first finger. So just play me that note. That's 2 notes, 1 note. Okay. So was this stressful?
No.
Okay. Now we can't put the hand, but we're leaving the hand there, which is actually slightly wrong for me, because I know that in that Tchaikovsky concerto I've got a C sharp to play, which I'm in the third note. And that's got to be with the fourth finger. Yeah. So I'm going to position the hand, not just that it can play the first finger, I'm going to put the wrist so it can play all of the notes. And when you come to that C sharp won't be difficult, because it's just going to drop into its natural slot. You don't have to play with vibrato, just put your wrist in the position, but play the C sharp. Drop the wrist in. By dropping the wrist in, by dropping the wrist in, watch my fingers. This fourth finger no longer has to stretch this way. Watch. In. Now I'm aligning it. I'm aligning that fourth finger. And that's what I must do for this passage. Unless I'm just going note by note, which we kind of generally do. But if we're finding it stressful, or we want to play a beautiful C sharp, then you've got to position the hand already to take in that first statement of Tchaikovsky. So position, play first finger and call it a D flat for now. And now play those 2 notes with both with fifths. You see, and this is why because the fifth is out of tune and wrong, it means the wrist is too hard and too tense. So if you soften that wrist, that fifth will be in tune. No, you must soften it now. In. That's right. There. That's right. Now, if you try to do it from this position, you won't make it, because this is stretching and this is creating tension. Play these 2 notes, da, da, dee, dee, da, until you have a sound that you think is going to be wonderful in the Royal Albert Hall. Okay, so I don't know whether this answers your question or not. Because if you start to practice and you're finding it uncomfortable, it's because something is tense in the hand. If you were writing an essay and you were doing this with the fingers, and you were doing, the arm was in there or the pencil was wrong, you would screw this paper up, chuck it away. Huh? You would. Because too much tension in the writing. No good. no flow, nothing natural. You don't think about cleaning your teeth or any of those things. You just naturally do it. It's a natural position. Driving your car. You don't have a car, but driving your car, my car. It has to be the same playing your violin. You have got to have the same freedom. Look, I'm not saying that everything is so easy to play the violin. It's really hard playing the violin. So we get, if you go to the 17th caprice and we have got all of these finger octaves and everything, we have to study these octaves for relaxation. There has got to be a way to do it. There's got to be a feeling that suits each player so they can present the hand in a very natural way. Otherwise, half the notes are going to be out of tune. Okay, just, well, I want you to think about this. Is there any other question you want to ask me about this?
I think I'm good for now.
Okay, yeah. Good, all right, good. All right.
Should I practice the fifths? Should I practice the very first thing I do, or after scale, before etudes? Any advice on that?
You have to practice them. This is the first thing you do. Because it's a continuation of tuning your violin.
Yeah.
You tune your violin, then you tune your fingers. Once your fingers are in tune, you can start practicing the scales. Once, and applying the same ease and the same forms of the hand and the pads when you're playing all of your chromatics, and of course we will come to thirds or the influence the fifths have on the other intervals. Okay? But absolutely first, you practice the fifths. I think that I couldn't play a concert, certainly when I was playing a lot of concerts, I couldn't play without practicing only this, even if it was 10 minutes, and then I would feel fully warm.
Yeah.
A scale doesn't quite do it. Not for me, because, well, perhaps, I don't know, perhaps because I've been doing it for 100 years now, it's kind of natural the way I play. I think I always played in this position. But I think that all of the, well, as from what I observe and the violinists who I talked to, the violinists who I was listening to when I was your age, this Oistrakh and Isaac Stern and all of these people, they had no problem with this relaxation in the hand. Yeah. And so even though perhaps they were not aware or playing fifths except occasionally and follow these few harmonics that they tune, I think that they automatically could do it within 5 minutes. Yeah. Absolutely. All the great players can do it. And that's why in my book, I put, instead of putting a picture of me demonstrating a fifth, or one of you doing the fifth, I'd rather put a picture of them, because they're actually in the perfect position to do it. So I think that they've arrived at this greatness of playing, from being wonderful prodigies. They've arrived at that point of everything just is not as difficult for them as it is for everybody else, because they didn't get mucked up with different tricks. I think that goes for the bow as well, but that's another story. I think we've just simply got to make this thing a whole lot easier so that we can get to a much more important ingredient, which is the music. That's all we're doing. For us, unfortunately, the voice is outside of the body is in here, and we've got to do all of this stuff, these hours of trying to train the hands so that we can get to the inner voice. So, I don't know if this answers your question. It's kind of a long answer. Yeah. But I think that making life easy is the first priority. Okay. Easier. All right. Let me hear you play. If you go to in my book, if you go to natural harmonics, if you go to page 17. This is a very, very, very unpleasant harmonic to start with, because of the angle of the pad. So start with the fourth, then the third. Now you have it. because you've got to relax the wrist for this harmonic. Now, with this relaxed wrist here, which would be the same as, I don't know, in my book there is wonderful pictures of a very young Yehudi playing and very young Michael Rabin playing, and the hand is so beautifully soft. You've got to have clean strings before it speaks. So, there you go. Soften the wrist and put this fleshy part of the pad on there. Don't put the tip on there because it's not designed for the. That's too sharp an angle.
Yeah.
In fact, actually, Hiroki, just put this harmonic on C. The wrist is too tight. That's right. And now, no, keep playing. Play this note. And now I want to ask you, can you feel the G underneath there in the third finger, on the next string? Now, stay in that position, play them together. It's there, it's always there. If the hand is positioned correctly, it's always there. Okay, so let's play those first harmonics, huh? Wow. And now I want you to play this. Instead of playing with 3/4, I want you to play with 2/3. Now 2/3 should be easier because the arm is going up straight, but the pad is bigger than with the little finger. Okay, so now we got 2/3, same harmonics. And now I want you to play with 1, 2, the same harmonics. Okay, so now you've traveled first position, second position, third position, fourth position.
Yeah.
So now I want you to play in exactly the same hand position. I want you to stop those notes. Play them as stop notes, as proper notes, with vibrato and the same rhythm. Soften the wrist. That's good. Second finger. Now 2/3. So you have got complete relaxation because you've been given these natural harmonics to position the hand with and soften that wrist. You see, when you tighten the wrist, everything, your vibrato, everything is unpleasant, actually. Just too difficult. Let me hear you play the same thing on the D and A string. Yeah, so now the angle of the arm is different than when it was the G string was out here.
Yeah.
There, you went the wrong way.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of center. So you can feel this gravity in putting the fingers in the right place. 2, 3. I don't like this articulated bowing. I don't like noises when you change. Play. Yeah, and use your wrist when you change and not your fingers, because your fingers go at a different speed. That's good. 2, 3. No, don't play with this bad sound. Good sound. 1, 2. That's beautiful. Bravo, bravo, bravo. E string and A string. And now play me all of those notes, but in their proper place, not in artificial harmonics. I just want you to play D, do. G and first this one. But I want you to play with a beautiful bow and watch your change, because I want you to practice everything. Relax. Critical, I would say that wrist is slightly too straight. I would like you to relax it even a bit more, because the natural fall is a bit floppy, like that. If you look at a little child's hand, they do everything so good. The hand looks so amazing. That's good. So you've been through quite a lot of positions, as we were taught, but which you don't have to use. So for example, if you played from there, if we played from there, that's more or less as far as Bach is going. Perhaps he's going to go to an F when you play that. I don't think it goes any higher than this. So we're covering already quite a lot of notes with the chromatics and with the artificial harmonics, and with this natural fall of the hand and the softness of the wrist and the correct feel in the fingers. Now I want you to play something very easy for me. Play to me a scale just on one note on the G string. No, not fierce. But using the same technique that you did with the fifths. Does it feel very easy or not?
It was tense first, but then...
I know, but you know, because I explained it to you, you know why it's tense. Why is it tense? You tell me.
Because I didn't prepare, my arm wasn't on the fourth position. Like the position of the arm wasn't ready for the fourth finger.
Correct. And the wrist was also two out, which is shortening the little finger. Again. Position it correctly. In a bit. Yeah, good. That's good. Listen to this. Also, this is actually a better sound.
It's okay.
Because you're vibrating in the pad. You're not vibrating that funny thing in the tip of the finger. Which everybody, I don't really want to hear vibrato. I prefer you to hide the vibrato. Well, not intentionally hide it, but you don't. When Pavarotti sings, or the great singers, you're not. Yeah, it's part of their character that obviously they have a vibrato, which is their identity. But you're not really conscious of it. You're just conscious of this. This is beautiful. You have to feel the same in your hand. when you came from D, from the position of the first finger on the D, which we used to think of as fourth position,
Yeah.
and you came to the C, it was slightly out of tune. Very, very slightly, but we have to know why it was. It's always why.
I think I wasn't thinking in fifth, so I was just landing.
You don't have to think in fifths for this. This has got to be a natural way of playing. If I play to you like this is my first finger, yeah? And then I go here like this, what is wrong with that?
Oh, the wrist is too.
I haven't dropped the wrist, because at this point the wrist is starting to fall this way.
Yeah.
So it's already not in a soft position. I can't get it in a soft position because the ribs are in the way.
Okay.
Just beautiful. You know what D is. But yeah, you can't start with this kind of sound. You have to start with a beautiful sound. It's too late, the sound. Okay, so this would be, if you were playing fifths now, this would be absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
I promise you. If you do it in this position. So just one more time, play to me and drop the hand into its natural position this way, as if like whoever designed us, perhaps it was something that we don't know about, but through the evolution of whatever, we arrived at this design. We've all got these arms, and this is everybody got the same design. So now your design is not to do this with all of this baggage, but is to do this. And you did that. And when you do that, the more you practice your fifths, the more natural this becomes. First position is not something which is easy like this. And you creating tension to vibrate, that's absolutely, yeah, I think that I think that obviously a lot of people do this to create probably a different sound, but this is a little bit like doing staccato, because staccato, if you play staccato like that, this is not a natural smooth bowing, there's a lot of tension in that. So if you play this like that, with the wrist out there, it's a similar kind of feeling to the staccato.
Yeah.
So think of that everything has got to be designed to present those pads always in a perfect, beautiful sounding position. Single notes.
In fifth?
No, single notes. I think you could drop a fraction more into a softer position in first position.
I think the movement seems on.
I don't know why you're starting on E. Well, start on B. Now if I do this vibrato is thin. This is not nice, all of these sounds I think are unpleasant. Now do exactly that with the same sonority and with the same natural flow of both arms. Let me hear you do that in fifth, like we do in the book. Bravo, bravo. Your change is a little bit too fast in your bow because you're flicking a little bit with the fingers instead of turning around in its natural way with the wrist. More sonority when we play. Okay, so now we should know how to approach some of the complicated passages that we come across, which are generally hard to play in tune, or we don't feel as if we have enough facility to play with great rhythm and articulation. So I think that perhaps let's take passage of Bach. So there are many pieces which are not so complicated. I mean, everything, of course, is very difficult, and we're really more interested at the end of the day in the music. But as violinists, we've got to develop a facility that can get to the logic of the music. Yeah. So let's go with from Bach. From this passage, which is very often complicated and difficult to play in tune. Yeah. So how would you go about practicing? What would be the stages of practice for you?
So I will start with slow practice, but then...
So what would be your practice patterns?
I will start with, because the music is in 30-second note, I will start with maybe project quarter note. You could start with the two notes, with the syncopated pattern, which I like a lot because it gives us a very good rhythmical flow and also gives us a very good feeling in the right hand. Yeah. So we can open the voice of the strings and start to develop this much more easily when we hear a correct sonority. So if you go with what I put in the book as the second pattern. Yeah. Let me hear how you play this passage well, just to practice the passage. And remember, you can't, if you stop, you can't scrub away on one note until it's in tune. Yeah. You have to actually just keep redoing those 2-3 notes until you feel in the pad of the finger, because the muscle memory will absolutely remember where it goes. Yeah. I'm not saying that we can ever play the thing perfectly. I don't think anybody actually ever played 100% perfectly. Is it possible? I don't think so. But I think some of them got kind of really close. And even if it wasn't exact, it was still kind of beautiful. Yeah. All right, so let me see you practice this passage. Okay. What would your next practice pattern be? Without the...
Projects. I don't like this change too much. Lean into the strings so the vibration of the voice is the same. Bravo, this is very good. So okay, so we know that your hand is good and relaxed. We know that your intonation across all of the strings, all the parallel notes are all in place. Minutely, but I mean like nothing. Nobody can pick up that. Because usually we're lifting the finger, placing on the string, placing it, and all of this is added work. So, what would your next practice be? Which is now actually very important. What would you do next? Because this belongs in a tempo.
Maybe playing the tempo, but with fifths. But then not as fast as what I'm going to play, but a little slower.
Play it in a comfortable tempo, and let me see if you can play that in fifths. And after this tempo, what would you do then?
In the tempo I want to play.
In fifths?
Yeah.
Play. Bravo. Very close. And if you play that 2 or 3 times more, this is going to be very easy for you to play because all of your hand is right, you know that your intonation is in the right place, your fingers in all the parallel frets are correct. So let me hear it again. So the tempo is so this is, so let me hear you play in tempo. So I wouldn't have a problem if I was listening to you play. I would feel completely comfortable listening to this kind of fiddle playing because I hear the articulation in the fingers and I hear the intonation is pure-ish.
It's easier for me as well because instead of the fingers going all over the place, it's with blocks when I practice with this. So
good.
Yeah, it's easy.
When you say blocks, you mean what?
I mean the hand is in the right shape.
Yes.
So
It's the hand and the arm. Bravo. So this would be very good. And then you can just get on with doing your simple things, huh?
Yeah.
In the shotgun. A lot of double stops. You know we're going to have, of course, do. Because look, if we play the first note chord, if I put the hand in the right position, I have no problem with that D minor chord, huh? There is the bow. Yeah. So we have to practice this in the same way when we're studying, huh? Because we have all of these. Okay, all right, so good. Let's choose another piece.
Yeah.
So this same hand position would apply to left-hand pizzicato, for example, because we presented the pads in the correct position to pull the string, huh? Play once this passage for me in fifths. Just a couple of bars. It's out of tune because the wrist is wrong. Correct. Okay, fine. Bravo. So now you're going to have really good articulation in your left hand, so you can even play left hand pizzicato from this position. Okay, fine. Only thing that is not quite right is the balance between the bow. This one. So you have got to tap so it sounds correct. Okay, no, you have to practice that one, because it's the only vertical bowing we have. Okay, this is good. Let's pick another piece. What I don't know. Play me a passage from that is not in the book, actually. Play me a passage, because we're going to deal with anything that is difficult. We're going to deal with in this kind of way, because not everything is difficult. Because once we've established how we're going to play, it's a bit easier than it was before.
Yeah.
But we've got to come across passages which are very, very difficult. So, for example, I know very well that you're studying at the moment. You're studying Mozart 3. What else are you studying? Introduction, Wonderful Virtuoso. What else are you studying?
I'm doing like sonata, Beethoven sonata.
Beethoven. Okay, so let's go. Tell me a passage in this. I don't know. What do you find difficult in Mozart 3, for example?
The third movement.
Which? I don't see that as being too difficult for you, because your hand looks nice to me.
Yeah. After doing all this.
So tell me, if you were teaching in our system, if you were teaching somebody because they're struggling a little bit with this passage, what would you tell them? How to practice?
I'll start with the syncopated rhythm.
Sure. And now, let me hear you play the passage. I know that you practiced all of the other rhythms and fast and fierce and so on. Now let me hear you play. Right. Let me see you play with a little bit more beautiful. Let me see you play with a little bit longer wrist in the right arm and slightly 1 inch higher in the elbow, so that the wrist can go out this way and not this way. This way. All right, bravo. Let me hear one more time. This is the last thing I'm going to make you crazy with. Let me hear you. See if you can be as fraction active in the left hand. I don't mean just on the notes, but with a little bit. Let the hand help the fingers as we practice with the sonority. Even when it's very fast, there should be some activity. Bravo. And now pick a place where I can hear your sound, because I want to know how the fifths are affecting your sound, just in this lesson that we have today. Thank you. Well, play it one more time. Good, like this. Okay, so I think we can end this particular lesson.
Yes, thank you.
Bravo, thank you, Hiroki.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.